Welcome back to Trees and Utilities. We're live here, Trees and Lines podcast, talking to Rebecca Lasica from NV5. Thank you for making time for us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. I think our audience is generally pretty familiar with NV5 and what you guys have been up to, but you mind just kind of giving us a little snippet on what you guys are focused on in the market and how you're engaging with this conference?
Yeah, sure. No, this is a great conference for us, and we love being here every year. NV5, so I'm with the NV5 Geospatial group, where we really focus, especially on the commercial space, on electric utility markets. I'd say the majority of our portfolio is electric utility, some oil and gas, different energy, verticals, but really electric utility focused. And I think as a company where we're really focused right now in that space is where we've always been, and that's really quality, serving our clients, serving the market, and taking that as a responsibility. So we have the responsibility to our clients to not just serve data that they're asking for, but to help them solve problems. And so myself, my team, we really take a lot of time to try to understand what are the problems for our client, and then what are we going to bring to the table to help them solve those problems. And that's both the technology problems that they're looking to solve, but also the business problems, right? And so part of that is, you ask about this conference, right? Working with industry partners a lot. That's part of our whole portfolio approach, because we're going to bring the best solutions to the clients, whether it's something that is our bread and butter or something that is enabled through partners and working with industry to get there. So
tell us a little bit about how you see how's it evolved, the space you work in, and tell us what it's going to look like 5 years from now.
Oh yeah, I love that question. So I've been in this industry for more than 2 decades.
Utility technology or software in general?
Remote sensing specifically.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think of geospatial as an applied science. It's remote sensing solution applied to solve problems. And I've focused most of the couple of decades in commercial market space. And so that has been a lot of utilities and, those types of companies. But how has it changed over time, right? So where I started was very much in going deep in a niche of technology in the data analytics space, data science. And you can go really deep when I think of the value chain that geospatial and remote sensing brings to industry. You've got data acquisition, you've got analytics, you've got consumption of the information into all of the systems where you're actually solving a business problem, right? And so I started off going really deep in that analytics space. Over time, I got the opportunity to evolve with the industry in what does it look like to take on more of that value chain, per se, to solve more problem or be more complex, honestly. The level of complexity increases, but then so does the value to the client. So I've seen that evolution happen where there's a lot of companies still out there that do a great job going deep in one part of the vertical. What I love about NV5 is that we're looking at the whole thing. So we're able to bring, when needed, the pieces and parts to solve those problems.
Right.
And I think as an industry, that's a really challenging thing to solve for our clients. And so, it requires a lot of different muscles in the mind. So so that's kind of where
is the solution that you guys have or are basically offering the market an end-to-end solution. Like, are you collecting, analyzing, processing? Is it all kind of bundled into one?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And I've seen that evolve over time too, of the different things that you can bring to that table. What does that look like? We don't always have to bring out every tool in the tool belt either, when it's not needed. But yes, we're able to.
But it's there.
It's there.
Yeah, it's a suite of things, right?
That is our sweet spot, is really being able to bring that whole thing to the table, so we don't have to only focus on one part of a problem. We're comprehensively trying to solve the problem with our client in partnership.
You mentioned complexity. If they're willing to accept complexity, the opportunities are tremendous. but it is more complicated, more difficult.
Well, it is, but then I think that that's our job in industry, is to help deliver content that is easy to consume, that's easy to act upon, that you're removing the complexity for the client. So our clients, we're not asking them to know all the intricacies of LiDAR or hyperspectral satellite, anything.
Yep.
We're trying to distill the information into content that they're asking us for, so that they can continue with their business, solve their business problems. So removing the complexity, that's the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
But it's something that's needed.
One of the challenges that we've often heard from utilities is there are ways to get the data. There's several effective ways to collect, but processing times, processing efficiency, the quality of the output, getting it in a timely manner. These are some of the things that we've heard, over the last couple of years. How have you guys tackled that, right? Being able to slice data and put it into a usable format for the client. Is that something that you guys you think you have solved for in the market?
So there's always room for improvement on everything. So I'm not going to claim ever that we've solved the world's
we can
problems.
do it perfectly.
It's us and only us. But it's a really good question. And the most important thing for us is that we start by listening to the problem. Because once we understand what's the problem, we may, and especially when we're looking at that whole value chain,
Yep.
When you start with the right tool, and that's the data to solve the problem, you're going to have a lot easier time down the way. You're going to help save time.
Yep.
You're going to help their budgets by understanding the problem. And the problem is going to dictate, do we bring out a helicopter, or is it a drone problem, or fixed wing aircraft? What is the right tool? What is the right sensor?
It's very curated.
It's curated content. And then we have processes that enable us to just go acquire once. That can be the cost driver, right, for a project. And so go acquire once, but then use the analytics, the technology, the AI, whatever you want to throw in there to process the data. And we may collect a data set once, but run it through 1 or 2 or 5 different processing work streams to generate the content for a different business problem that our client needs to solve. So we're trying to be efficient there, and always efficiently planning throughout that value chain.
Oh, that's
and
fantastic.
is it? It's not just veg management.
No.
It's all asset management.
Yeah, our bread and butter really started in the veg space, and we built a lot of our early know-how in that space. And we've worked through transmission veg management programs, and then evolved into asset management, transmission engineering, distribution, veg, and assets. So we span all of those use cases now. Even, I call them the bucket of other use cases, things like access roads. Where can I safely send my crew when we do need to go in the field? Are there any access roads to locations that are otherwise hard to reach? Or substations, so monitoring things like, is there a fire fuel risk in defensible space around a substation, or things like that. So there's a lot of problems that we can apply. That's why I say applied science, right?
Yeah.
Apply the remote sensing to solve that. It makes it exciting to just be able to help, reach those business goals of our clients.
You guys are only in the U.S. Like, where is a lot of your work being done?
So we're worldwide now.
Okay.
So most of our core business is U.S. We're U.S. Based. We've got multiple offices here in the U.S. We also have an office up in Canada, and near and dear to your heart.
Near and dear to me.
We've got an office in Canada, and then through some M&A transactions that we've had recently, we have offices overseas. So in Italy, France, UK, Germany. So we've got some European presence as well.
I'm guessing you have lots of engineers and developers, right, that are working on the tools constantly.
Yep.
And it's proprietary to NV5. Is there a growth plan to continue to tackle new markets through acquisition, or is it a good mix of hey, we're going to continue to develop stuff in-house? Or are you just at a stopping point where you're like, we've done what we can in-house and we've got to acquire to grow?
It's a really good question. Our strategy is really twofold. There's an organic growth piece, right? We work with a lot of clients. We're working with one department, but then we work with multiple departments within that client base to generate some organic growth through applying some of the value that we're already doing in one program into another inside a core market space. Adjacent market spaces are a growth area for us. We're doing a lot, like I said, in the digital twin space.
Yep.
And when we're generating a digital twin of a substation or an oil and gas operation or something like that, that's translating actually quite nicely into some construction monitoring and some other areas, data centers, critical infrastructure of that sense, that we're finding a really simple product market fit for that type of a growth.
Very relevant pivots, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then on the M&A side, of course, there's always NV5. It's, everybody can see that there's, definitely an M&A strategy there. That is, it's part of the growth, but really where myself and my group are focused are on the organic piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I ended up speaking to 10 of your top clients, what do you think the one theme, what would be the recurring theme? What do you think they would say about NV5?
Quality. I don't even have to hesitate to answer that.
Yeah, you didn't hesitate.
Yeah. The programs that we're supporting a lot of them are regulated, and the ones that aren't regulated are business critical.
Yep.
And quality is so important to our clients. So we're generating data, content, consumable information that they're making decisions on, that they need to feel that they can trust the data. We need to feel that they can trust us, that we're delivering them quality data. So we need to do that on time. We need to do that inside their budget.
Yep.
I'm assuming most or a lot of them will use that data then to support rate cases or
absolutely
their work with their underwriters.
Absolutely. Yeah. Writing rate cases. We do a lot of things when we deliver the data. We're also delivering a lot of times reports that our clients are using internally for just that type of information, so that they can show, here's the value, here's the data, this is why I'm making the decision that I'm making. It really helps them. Yeah. It's
such an interesting time that we're in, right? Like the conversations around AI, technology adoption. Where do you think we are, and this is more a specific question for the utility sector, where do you think we are in the life cycle of digital adoption and really going from like, oh, I'm comfortable with technology to this is now going to be how I completely function? Where do you think we are in that cycle?
I think there's a range. There's a wide range. We have clients who are they're pushing us to bring more technology, more cutting edge to the table. And that's always, it's great. It's fun. Great. We're working in that arena. Our clients are they're helping us get out of our comfort zone and pushing us. Conversely, there is market space still that we are helping who are getting away from being on paper still. And so with those clients, it's a different solution set, the way that you deliver it. So it might be the same data, it might be the same content that you're delivering, but you've got to take them through it. And so sometimes if we're generating a LiDAR data set, and what is LiDAR, and I don't trust this, and it's a bunch of points in the air, we're also delivering with that high resolution current base map of an image that's understandable. And our clients there in that part of that adoption phase, they really rely on that literal visual interpretation to trust the data, and then eventually move toward trusting the data. But it's a process, and we've got to invest in being there with them to help them through that process. That's I think our responsibility as a vendor. So
that's fantastic.
So the technology's evolved really fast.
Absolutely.
How has costs evolved over that time?
Yeah, great question. So that also depends. So for example, jet fuel cost has increased. So,
Yes.
check. So, when you've got hard assets and things like that you're putting up into space or into up into the air, that has a cost increase. Our clients' budgets are not increasing, right? And so we're relying internally heavily on automation, innovation, things like that to keep our cost structure. If we can even keep it flat
Yes.
or go down a little bit, then our clients don't have to feel even the need to absorb inflation or
Yep.
any little things that are out there, because there's a ton of sensitivity, as you know, to price.
Yes.
So we try to drive down our cost internally as much as we can to keep things from increasing too much for our clients over year.
It seemed like price just a few years ago, that number one thing people talked about when they talked about technology, it's too expensive to enter in. You don't hear that argument much anymore, or I don't. But so obviously they either have greater demand or they have to do it, or the costs are now acceptable.
Yeah, and I think budgets cycle year over year, right? And you're going to have a year where there's budget available and a year where there's budget cuts. And from a vendor perspective, we always hear that. So I'm not sure. I'd like to talk to the people you're talking to who don't care anymore about
it's
cost.
just not the first thing they say.
That's awesome.
But we're always just cognizant of it because it is front of mind for a lot. The clients who are operationalizing our data and the ones who we're working with, the ones out in the field on a day-to-day basis with the data, they may not be the ones who are beholden to that budget.
That's right.
So, we kind of have to make both groups happy.
Yep.
And that's where we focus. Yeah.
Well, Rebecca, I really appreciate you carving out some time for us today. I mean, I think what you guys are doing is fantastic. I know you guys are a market leader in many areas, and I know you're championing a lot of things. So thank you again for taking the time to talk to us about it today.
Thank you so much
It was
for
really
having
nice
me.
talking
Yeah,
to you.
really enjoyed it.
appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it for this episode of Trees and Lines, brought to you by Iapetus Holdings. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. If you have any questions or comments on any of our episodes or ideas for topics or guests, we'd love to hear from you. Please contact us at treesandlines@iapetusllc.com. We'll chat with you soon.